Hi, everybody. Here we are. Disc 3, Season 4, Episode 183. Farewell, Wesley Crusher. It's time to break out the handkerchiefs and cry. We're gonna miss them. So, anyways, today it's the final mission. Next week is the lost. The week after, Data's Way, and the week after, the Wounded. And welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina, Kristina. This is where we read books and talk about books. I'm into series, so I read books in a series. I'd like to read the character development from book to book to book. Star Trek Next Generation is a series. We may have a storyline each episode, but we do have character progression from book to book to book. And by the way, that cuckoo clock does not tell time. It just rings whenever it wants. And it seems to be always when I'm doing a video. Oh, and there's no special editing here. There's no theme music. There's nothing. It's just me reading books, talking books, me watching Star Trek, talking Star Trek. There's nothing special here. And I'm looking for a Christmas miracle. I'm looking for 1,000 subscribers by Christmas. I only need 900 more. Spread the word. In the meantime, please hit the like and subscribe. It's going to be a sad one. So like I said, we are doing the final mission, saying goodbye to Wesley Crusher. And we get a captain's voiceover log. We get a captain's voiceover log. I am preparing to leave by shuttlecraft for Pentaurus 5, where I have been asked to mediate a dispute among the salient miners, a contentious group unfortunately prone to violence. But first I must deal with a situation of a far more personal nature. So, Wesley comes running onto the bridge, and he's like, "Sir," and Picard's like, "Mr. Crusher, I summoned you almost 10 minutes ago." And Wesley's like, "Yes, sir, I'm sorry, but I was in the middle of a very important experiment. I was using some volatile compounds, and I couldn't just leave them." Picard says, "Excuses, Mr. Crusher?" And, "No, sir, I was just attempting to offer." So, excuses, Mr. Crusher? No, sir, I was just attempting to offer. And Picard gets up, "Because I assure you that will not go over well at Starfleet Academy." Wesley's, yes, sir, I'm aware of that." And Wesley goes, "The Academy?" There you go. I just received a message from Admiral Nausicaa. She expects you to report in 2 weeks. A position has opened up in this year's class. Wesley says, "Thank you." Picard says, "Now you're going to have to work overtime to catch up, but I assured the Admiral that you will be capable of it. Please don't make a liar out of me." "Oh, no, sir, I won't, sir." "Well, for your final mission on board the Enterprise, you will accompany me to Pentaurus 5 while I try to sort out problems with the miners. Commander Riker has told me that you have been studying the effects of outpost judiciary decisions on Federation law. What better way to get first-hand experience?" Worf interrupts their little happy tete-a-tete. Where was I? Worf, "Captain, I'm picking up a general distress signal from Gamelon 5. Picard, on screen. You have to wonder how much fun the special effects guys were having with these costumes. This poor chick with this stuff all over her. I wonder how hard it was for her to talk. Does anyone read us? Open channel. I am Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation Starship Enterprise. Sanjay says, Captain, I am Chairman Sanjay of Gamelan 4. An unidentified spacecraft has entered our orbit above our planet. Radiation levels in our atmosphere have increased by 3,000%. We can only assume we are under attack, but the ship will not answer our hails. We are a peaceful planet. We have no ability to defend ourselves. Please, can you help us? And then, oh, and we've got a new temporary crew member, Alan B. Um, at first I thought she was gonna be Crusher's replacement, but she's not. It's gonna be the other lady, Ro, right? Um, so Mr. Data, are we close enough for a scan? No, sir, we are out of range. Riker says, any other ships in the sector? Data says, negative, Commander. Picard says, Chairman Sanjay will proceed immediately to your planet. Sanjay says, thank you, Captain Picard. Picard says, Commander Riker, take the Enterprise and investigate the problem. Ensign Crusher and I will proceed to Pentaris 5. And then he says to Wesley, the miners have sent a shuttle. We will leave in 10 minutes. So then we're in the shuttle bay, and I will probably say this a few times. I don't know why they just didn't use the Enterprise shuttle. Why this guy had to come pick them up. But I know, plotline. I know, plotline. She's playing with the wires. Miss, I don't want to be on cameras playing with the wires. Jordy says, I've noticed here that your maneuvering thrusters are rigged in a configuration I haven't seen before. Dorego says, it's my own modification. It's more efficient. You can study it if you want. Jordy says, excuse me, Captain. Oh. Here we go. I don't want to be on camera. I don't like camera. What? I don't like being on camera. I'm not a camera cat. Camera cat's asleep over there. So anyways, where were we? Geordi tells Captain Picard, I've run safety and operational inspections, Captain. Everything checks out all right, but I won't make any claims as to its comfort. Durego says, Captain Picard, Captain Durgo of Shuttlecraft Nembek. Ah, Captain, good to meet you. Wesley says, Captain of a shuttle? Durego says, yes, Ensign. My ship isn't pretty and she isn't big, but we've logged almost 10,000 hours together. Picard said, oh yeah, she seems a very sturdy craft. So, Durego asked Captain if he would take ops, and Picard says, no, I'll let Ensign Crusher perform that task. I need to study up on Regalian law. Now, I will notice that several scenes have been cut from this episode. 5 or 6 scenes have been completely cut from this episode. Don't know why. And I guess they're really not needed, but it was. I noticed there was a couple. There's Wesley saying that they've cleared the shuttle bay and all that kind of stuff. All that's gone. So they're back up on the Enterprise, and Data says the shuttlecraft has cleared the ship. And then Riker says, Ensign Allenby set a course for Gamelon System Warp 6. Allenby says yes. So not only is she an extra, but she gets lines, and she gets bragging rights forever that she had lines on the show. So she's part of Next Gen. She's part of the history of it. She was on it. Her character had a name, and she had lines. They're those bragging rights. So then we're on the shuttle. Um, Dorego says, "You've done this before." Wesley says, "Yes." Dorego says, "Your captain back there, if he isn't tougher than he looks, those miners will tear him apart." Wesley says, "Don't worry about Captain Picard. He'll handle them." Wesley says, "I've lost navigation." Dorego says, "The port thruster quad is gone. Guidance coupling is severed. I can't stabilize her." They get knocked by something. You don't see it, but they get knocked by something. But I wanted to bring this up if I can find it. Let's see. Hold on a second. Okay, I don't know if you probably can't see it very well with your screens, but you got the two planets, and then you got the matchbox carbs twirling. You can't. You're gonna have to go look at it for yourselves on your own TV screens. But it doesn't show up well with this because I have a very poor equipment. I'm not fancy schmancy like the rest of them. But I just wanted to say that it looked like there was a string dangling, and there was a matchbox shuttlecraft. Just, just saying, what it looked like. I just wanted to point out this is the last time we're gonna see this for a while. Just thought I'd bring that up. Gonna miss him. So we come back from opening credits, and the ship is being tossed around. Wesley says the port thruster module blew. Director says Nimbector Enterprise emergency. Do you read? Pantera station come in. Communications are gone. Picard, is your navigational system functioning? Director says negative. Switching to manual. 50 kilometers to Pantera's 5. We may have to put down somewhere else. Mr. Crusher, can't scan for a Class M environment. Aye, sir. I'm going to have to throttle back on the main impulse engine. Sir, one of those moons of Pantera's 3, it registers as a Class M belly. The mean surface temperature is 55 degrees Celsius. Picard says life forms indicated. Wesley says negative, but scanning is limited. There's a very strong magnetic field around the surface. My printer. Durega, we don't have a choice. Save the impulse engine for a controlled entry. Picard says, Mr. Crusher, reconfigure working thrusters to annual impulse. Wesley says, I'll try, sir, but this grid looks like about 100 years old. Durega says, we don't have the Federation's resources. And I'm telling you, he says that too many times. Captain, take the helm. I'm rerouting the deuterium flow. Hull temperature 700 degrees. Picard says, beginning braking maneuver. Dorego says, we're below Mach 1. Bypass 2 thrusters now. Picard, brace yourself for impact. Oh, I had another question. Now, again, this is one of my other pet peeves with shows. Especially with horror movies and stuff. They try and make it dark and eerie, but it's so dark and eerie that you cannot see what's going on. So even if they have a big climactic moment and it's in the dark, what good is it if you cannot see it? Okay? My big beef. There was a vampire show on NBC and it tanked because you couldn't see anything that was going on. They had the lighting was so dark and they just thought they were so awesome. You couldn't see anything, so you didn't watch it. But my complaint here was, and I will say this with Voyager, I will say this with Atlantis. Where are the seat belts? Just saying. They could use some seat belts. Just a thought. Does it remind you of Star Wars? Luke getting out of the plane or something. He's surveying the planet. It looks a little orange too, by the way. So, you thinking green screen or you think they went to Nevada? What you thinking here? Okay. So Picard says, let's salvage what we can. The first thing we'll need is shelter from the sun. In this heat, the shuttle will act like an oven. Dorego says, all systems are out. Can't get a communication channel. Location transponder is gone too. Picard says, let's check the craft for something to protect our head and eyes. And Captain, please recover your medical supplies, food, and water rations. Well, the medical supplies are all right. Picard says, food and water. Dorego says, a replicator damaged beyond repair. Picard, truly, you don't have emergency supplies? And Dorego once again says, this isn't a starship. I have to choose what I carry. Are you telling me there's no water? Just saying. Edison scanning vessel reads as an unmanned sublight freighter. Origin data says indeterminate. Propulsion appears to employ a gaseous core fission reactor, but it's not functioning. Geordi says the radiation levels coming from that ship are off the scale. Riker says, could that be leakage from their engines? Data says, no, sir. Engine reactor elements appear to have been inactive for approximately 300 years. The vessel is carrying various unstable waste products. Geordi says, you mean it's a garbage cow? Data says precisely. Riker says, Mr. Worf, open a hailing frequency. Chairman Sanjay, this is Commander Riker on board the Enterprise. Sanjay says, yes, Commander. It appears you've inherited someone else's problem. It's an old waste vessel caught by your planet's gravitational pull. Beverly says, have your people begun to suffer from radiation sickness? Sanjay says, not yet, but some areas are already detecting dangerous levels. Riker says, we'll do our best to get it out of here as quickly as possible. Sanjay says, thank you, Commander. Riker says, we're going to give that barge a push into the Gamelin sun. Data says, the Matisian asteroid belt lies between here and the sun. Then we'll have to take it ourselves. We'll use our deflectors to clear a path through this asteroid. Geordi says, I don't like the idea of getting close enough to that barge to tow it. The radiation levels are so high it would be risking contamination of the entire crew. Riker says, got a better idea? Geordi says, we could send over a construction module over to attach thrusters to it. Then we could direct it through the asteroid belt from a safe distance. Worf says, Commander, a message from the mining settlement on Pentaris 5. The shuttle carrying Captain Picard has not yet arrived. Beverly says, they left here at 0800 hours. Worf said they asked if that we are beginning a search. Riker says, tell them we have an emergency situation. We will begin a search as soon as we've completed that. Aye, sir. Mr. LaForge, prepare to launch the construction module. I'd like to get this over with as fast as possible. Then we're back on the planet. Picard says, any luck with the tricorder ensign? Wesley says, I think so, sir. The scanning range may be a bit limited, but it's better than nothing. Dorego says, these were on board, Captain. They're working. Picard says, excellent. Now our communicators may not be able to get a signal through this strong magnetic field. I am fashioning an arrow. If a search party finds the wreckage, they will know we've headed for those mountains. Dorego says, are you crazy? It's too far away. We'll never make it. Picard says, we can't survive in the sun. Where there's a mountain, there is shelter. Dorego says, you've got no right to make decisions. I am captain of the ship. Wesley says, if you want to get out of this, I suggest you listen to Captain Picard. He's the one who's going to keep us alive. Picard says, thank you, Ensign. That's enough. Captain Dorego, you are able pilot, and I welcome your input. Do you feel there's an alternative we are overlooking? Dorego's like, no. Picard says, like, very well, I suggest a steady pace, not a brisk one. We need to ration our energy. Try breathing through your nose. That way it will help to prevent dehydration. I'll lead. Captain Dorego, will you bring up the lead? How old are those phasers? Where do they come from? I mean, they were Doregos, but what Do they look like really old stuff that one of the older sci-fi shows would have had? I was just thinking. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's Picard's arrow. He's got a bottle of alcohol. Just saying. Dorego says, "Did you find water?" Wesley says, "No, not yet." Dorego says, "What are you doing with that?" Picard says, "Mr. Crusher?" Wesley says, "I'm not sure, sir. It's an energy reading." Picard says, "Energy reading? What kind?" Wesley says, "Low frequency EMH, EEM. It's been getting stronger the closer we get to those mountains." "What are you saying? There's something over there waiting for us?" Wesley says, "I'm not sure what it is. It just keeps registering as a repeating energy pattern." Picard says, "Ensign, are you suggesting this energy is not naturally occurring?" Wesley says, "The readings could be indicating some electromagnetic properties in the rocks, but I don't think so." Picard says, "A life form?" Wesley says, "It's possible. The pattern's fairly organized." Picard, "Well, we can't go back. We can't stay here. We've got to keep going to those mountains no matter what is waiting for us." Oh, oh, oh well. Nice little cave here. You think it's natural they found a settled place someplace, or do you think they green screened it a little bit? It looks familiar. I think we've used this place before. I'm not sure though. It looks familiar from someplace. Just bringing it up. Dorego says there has to be water in here. Aren't caves formed by water? Picard says not necessary. This could be created by volcanic activity, lava flows. These walls are dry. Mr. Crusher, do you get any moisture readings? No, sir, but that EM reading, the patterns change. The frequency is peaking a lot higher. You have water. And they show the glass container that Dorego had. It's called Dressy from my planet. Picard says alcohol. Dorego says it's medicinal for emergency purposes. I was going to share it with you. Picard says this won't quench your thirst. It would only make it worse. Dorego says, well, I'll take my chances. Picard says, I'm not going to let you waste this. This is a more valuable to us as a coolant or a disinfectant. Dorego says, it's mine. Picard goes, Mr. Crusher, stow that with medical supplies. Keep your eye on it. Picard says, all right, we've got to explore the cave. Mr. Crusher, look out for any signs of water, no matter how faint. Dorego, will you lead the way? So I don't know why I guess they put this in for extra. Because like I said, there's like 4 or 5 scenes cut from this episode. Um, but so Beverly's saying we're projecting that the bulk of the radiation will affect 3 small island groups. Fortunately, they're sparsely populated. We'll begin to replicate high run lanolin now and be ready to transport to them if it becomes necessary. Please coordinate with the medical personnel on the planet. Troy comes in. Beverly, we've contacted the nearest starbase for a search vessel. I'm afraid the closest one is almost a week away. Beverly says, I see, thank you. Troy says, but we have asked the mining settlement to send any vessels they might have. Troy, you know there are many reasons why the shuttle might have been delayed. Beverly says, Deanna, thank you, but I'm all right. Right now, I have work to do. Worf says, Commander, the miners report that they have very few operable shuttlecraft. They want to know when we will be joining the search. Riker says, tell them to stand by. If this works, we'll be on our way. Geordi says, thrusters are attached and ready, Commander. Riker says, initiate pre-fire sequence. Geordi says, pre-fire sequence transmitted. Thrusters to stand by. Riker says fire thrusters gradual acceleration to 40% power. Then we see outside the vessel. Geordi says we've lost one module, correcting thrusters vectors to compensate. Data says structural integrity of the barge has been compromised. Disintegration is continuing. Riker says shut down thrusters, Ensign. Take us 1,000 meters ahead of the barge and hold. Data says external radiation levels are increasing. Allenby coming into position at 1,000 meters. Riker, Worf, extend shields around the ship and lock on a tractor beam. Worf says, aye, sir. Computer says, warning, radiation levels at 70 millirods per minute and rising. Do you think Margelle Barrett did all this, that she hung around the set all day, or did they simulate a voice? Did she just would come in once a week and record all these voiceovers in order? Allenby set a new course. We'll take it through the asteroid belt ourselves. 1/4 impulse bar. Allenby says, aye, sir. Riker says, Dr. Crusher to the ridge. Crusher says, on my way. You know, they never once tapped the thing. They just talk to the air. Like the air is going to know that they're calling somebody else. The air is going to know. Oh, I forgot something. Riker says, Data, I need a projection of radiation impact on the crew. Worf, contact the mining settlement. Tell them we won't be joining the search for a while. And how many shuttlecrafts do the Enterprise have? Could they have not sent a couple of their own? Are their shuttlecrafts not worthy of fast travel? Could they have not gotten there in a few hours to assist? I'm just saying. I know we've seen this before someplace. I just can't remember where, but we've seen this whole thing before. Durega says, I knew there had to be water. Picard says, Mr. Crusher, what was that? Wesley says, it seems to be a tightly confined annular force field, sir. Picard says, placed there to protect the water. Wesley says, yes, there has to be a way to deactivate it, sir. Diego says, we can with our phasers. Picard says, I think it might be wiser if. Wesley says, the EM pattern again, the power level's really spiking now. Durego says, look, I think it's working. Picard says, Durego, stop filing. I wanted to show what the force field looked like. Aluminum foil, plastic wrap, shiny. It was just a thought. Okay, because of Durego's firing the phaser, they triggered a little bit of an avalanche with the rocks, and Picard got hit on the head. Uh, Picard says, Mr. Crusher, what was that? Wesley says, it seems to be a tightly confined annular force field, sir. Oh, I skipped it. Wesley says, apply pressure on that wound. Wesley says, this is the worst break. Diego says, what was that thing? Wesley says, keep pressure constant. Picard says, Ensign, how bad is it? Again, could be a theme, this thing. Wesley says, your leg is broken, you have a fracture in your left arm, and you took a blow to the head, but we're getting the bleeding under control. Picard says, well done, I'm going to be fine, I just need to catch my breath. Durego says, will you tell him the truth? Wesley says, what truth? Durego says, he's bleeding inside, I've seen it before, he's never going to survive. Wesley says, you don't know what you're talking about. Durego says, you're wasting your time. Will you save that dressing for us? Picard says, Durego, I appreciate it if you didn't bury me before I'm gone. Durego leaves. Picard says, the trouble is, he could be right. Wesley says, no, he's not. You're going to be fine. Picard says, for a moment I saw your father's face in yours. Wesley says, you're going to have to keep a rein on Durego. He's willful, stubborn, that could be dangerous. Wesley says, you'll handle him, sir. Picard says, "Listen to me. I have no feeling in my right leg. My vision is blurred. I'm going to get worse, not better. I won't be able to help you. No, you're going to have to stand up to Dorego on your own." Wesley says, "Yes, sir." Picard says, "Good man." Okay, then we have a voiceover from Riker. First officer's log started at 44307.6. Radiation levels on the Enterprise continue to rise. The ventilation system has started pumping hydrogen into our air supply to counter effects. Um, this is at the rate the radiation levels are increasing, the hydrogen additive will only be effective for another 38 minutes. Doctor Crusher says, "Crusher to Medical Unit 1, evacuate and seal off all non-operational areas. Group the crew and families in the interior corridors of decks 9 and 10. Radiation exposure protocol." Um, could they have not separated the saucer section? I don't know, just an idea. They could have had all the people go in the saucer section. But no, we gotta have this little bit of drama. There's a voiceover. "Acknowledged, Doctor." Riker says, "Data at our current speed. How long will it take us to get through the asteroid belt?" 51 minutes, 14 seconds. Beverly said, "There's going to be a lot of casualties if we can't get there any faster." Riker says, "Mr. LaForge, how much more can we get out of that tractor beam?" Geordi says, "We're already at the maximum limits of our towing speed, Commander." Riker said, "Then let's see if we can establish a new upper limit." Geordi says, "Aye, sir." Geordi says, "Data, monitor the shearing effect on the beam increasing to 1/2 pulse." Data says, "Tractor beam is holding, shearing force 80 metric tons per meter." Geordi says, "Increasing to 3/4 impulse." Data says, "Shearing force 92 metric tons, 93 tractor beam is destabilizing. We are going to lose the barge, Commander." Riker says, "Reduce power." Allenby says, "1/2 impulse." Geordi says, "You've got to stabilize that tractor beam." Just thought I'd give her another shout out. She's got lines. She's got a voiceover. She's got a name. She's got bragging rights for the rest of her life that she was on Star Trek Next Gen. Just saying. Um, Geordi, you've got to stabilize that tractor beam. Geordi says, "I can't divert any more power to the shields. We've already hitting maximum thermal limits. Only other choice is to bring some other fusion reactors online, but we're running at peak coolant pressure." Riker says, "Do it." Voiceover computer, "Warning, radiation levels at 150 millirads per minute and rising. Lethal exposure in 35 minutes. I like how all these, time things, they're always like counting down the milliseconds. And, it's like 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes have gone by, but according to the computer, we've only lost about 10 seconds. Just saying. Okay, I know this is, again, I'm low tech. I have very bad pictures. I apologize. I'm low tech. But this webbing stuff, I'm thinking Wraith. You thinking Wraith? You thinking Stargate Atlantis Wraith? Um, Durga says, look at that. Wesley says, "How did this happen?" Durego says, "That thing did it." Wesley says, "These are selenium fibers electronically deposited. The EM pattern is back down. It only peaks when we move towards the water. Whatever it was we saw must act like a sentry to try to guard the fountain. When we're not moving towards it, the water, as long as we aren't moving toward the water, the wave pattern stays low right here between 5 and 15 megahertz. Dorego, move towards the fountain." Wesley says, "There, it just went to 40. Dorego says, "What is this getting us? We've got to get the water." Wesley says, "If we can figure out how to manipulate the frequency, maybe I can control it." Now, the first sentry appeared when you used your phaser. That means it could respond to heat or collineated energy. Drago says, if you're right, we can use a phaser to lure it away. Wesley says, hold on. We need to know what we're dealing with before we do anything. Drago says, not enough talk. No, enough talking, enough thinking. It's time to do something. I'll start firing. When it comes, you fire and draw it away. Wesley says, I can't. Dorego says, put your phaser on automatic and leave it on that ledge and take cover. And what makes you think it's going to go for my phaser and not yours? Because I'll be firing on the lower setting and you'll use maximum. Wesley says there's no evidence that responds differently to higher settings. We have to figure out our options before we just. And Dorego says, and while we're doing that, your captain is dying. Wounds like that, most men would be dead already. If he doesn't get water, when I start firing, you better do your part. Do the maneuver like Dorego wants, and he ends up covered. I'd swear that was spaghetti or string. That's nowhere near the technical goldenness of the Wraith spiderwebs. But anyway, it looks like spaghetti or twine. It really looks like pasta. I'm sorry, but for my visual, it looks like pasta. Okay, so we get a voiceover from Riker. First Officer Log Supplemental. Mr. LaForge has diverted power from the auxiliary fusion generators in an attempt to stabilize the tractor beam. This is the only hope of increasing our towing speed so we can clear the asteroid belt before radiation levels become fatal. Computer voice warning, radiation levels at 300 millirads per minute and rising. Lethal exposure in 1 minute. Geordi says, ready, Commander. I'll be rotating the output of the auxiliary reactors, but it should still give us power we need. Riker says, proceed, Mr. LaForge. Geordi says, increasing to 3/4 impulse. Data says, shearing force at 103 metric tons. Tractor beam is stable. Geordi says, full impulse. Data says, tractor beam is holding. Computer voice says, warning, lethal radiation exposure in 30 seconds. Worf says, we are in visual range of the asteroid belt. Riker says, on screen. Computer voice, warning, lethal radiation exposure in 15 seconds. There's a lot of work for Majel, isn't it? She must have really enjoyed this. Prepare to cut the barge loose. Computer warning, lethal radiation exposure in 10 seconds. Data says, we have cleared the asteroid, sir. Riker says, let it go. And they let it go and it blows up. Now, you see my point about the lighting? You can't see Wesley. You can't see him. They're going to have this dramatic, emotional discussion, and you can't see Wesley. These people, they're so trying to make it eerie and cave-like, but you can't see the actors. What is the point of having a dramatic interlude between two characters if you can't see them? Just saying. Okay, so Wesley starts a fire. So now we can see. When the sun went down, the temperature really dropped. This should help. He lights the fire. Oh, good. Thank you. Because I'm not much good to you, Wesley. Sir Dorego is dead. I should have tried harder to stop him, Captain. Captain Picard, stay with me. Picard says, I'm trying. Wesley says, Captain, remember when we took the shuttle base to Starbase 515? I was dreading it 6 hours alone with you, but it didn't turn out that way. I thought you'd open up to me. I got to know you. Picard says, Wesley, it's my fault you're here. I shouldn't have asked you. Sir, I'm honored you wanted me along. Picard said, I was selfish. I thought I might not see you again. I'm sorry. Wesley says, Sir, in the past 3 years, I've lived more than most people do in a lifetime. I am very lucky. No matter what happens, how many people get to serve with Jean-Luc Picard. You don't know this. Nobody knows. No one knows this because I've never told anyone all of the things I've done, work for school, my science project, getting to know the academy, I've done it all because I wanted you to be proud of me. If there's one thing I've learned from you is that you don't quit, and I'm not going to quit now. I've seen you think yourself out of worse situations than this, and I'm going to think us out of this. Wesley, you're going to die. I'm not going to let you die. I'm going to get the water. I'm keep you alive until they find us. So, so they have this big emotional moment back and forth between the two of them. But there's a lot of stuff online. You can look it up about why he left. He had wanted to do other things. But was uh what was that boy's picture? What was the I forget the friend's picture that Wesley did. Was it before Star Trek or after? I think it was before, after The Outsiders, not The Outsiders. I forget. My brain is fuddled. But so we will see him again in season 7, I think, for a couple of episodes. But he will be missed. He was a good part of the show. Back on the Enterprise. The Enterprise is returning to the last known location of the missing shuttlecraft. Riker says, "Are you certain?" Data says, "It's a definite debris. The primary material is duranium with smaller proportions of sonite and cerium." Geordi says, "Most shuttlecraft tunnels are made of duranium." Fuzzy, "Then they're gone." Data says, "Not necessarily, Doctor. This is far too little debris to account for an entire shuttlecraft." Riker, "So what is it?" Geordi says, "Durago had his maneuvering thrusters rigged funny way. He claimed it was more efficient if one of them blew. It might have left debris like that." If Riker said, "If only one of his thrusters were out, he could have put down somewhere." Data says, "The only Class M planet in the systems are Pentaris 2 and 5. Both have been thoroughly searched by the miners. Then we'll search them again. Sir, there are also 4 moons in the Pentaris system that might support life. Have their miners searched them?" Worf says, "Not yet, sir." "What's the closest one to the debris coordinates?" Data says, "Lambamba Paz, one of the moon, Pentaris 3. Riker says, "Set up course, Ensign." So then we have another heart-to-heart with Riker and Wesley. "Ensign, where are we?" Wesley says, "We crashed her. We're in a cave." Picard says, "Need water." Wesley says, "We don't have any water. Don't you remember we tried to get to the fountain and Captain Drago?" Picard says, "Yes, I remember." Wesley says, "But I think I'm onto something. I analyzed the Sentry's energy patterns." Wesley, "I may not make it." Wesley says, "I've taken the transponder element from my communicator, used it to modify the tricorder. I think I can use it to interrupt the Sentry's electrical pattern, stop it, or at least slow it down." Picard says, "Listen to me." Wesley says, "Yes, sir. There is so much I wanted to tell you at the Academy. There is someone you're meant to a great deal to me. He has been there forever. You must get to know him. His name is Boothby. Now you tell him that you and I were friends when I was there. He helped me listen to him." I don't know how well you can see that, but that's Boothby. He makes a huge appearance on Voyager shows, and he does make an appearance, I believe, in the Wesley Crusher season 7 episodes. But that is Boothby. He's the My Martian guy with Bill Bixby, I believe, the Incredible Hulk. But that's the Martian guy, the Boothby guy. Sorry. Um. Uh, There is so much I wanted to tell you at the Academy. There is someone who meant a great deal to me. He has been there forever. You must get to know him. His name is Boothby. Now you tell him that you and I were friends. Were our friends. You should be our friends. Stop thinking negatively. When I was there, he helped me to listen. He helped me listen to him. Wesley, what does he teach? Picard says he's the groundskeeper, one of the wisest men I ever knew. I envy you, Wesley. You are just the beginning of the adventure. Picard, go on, get the water, stay alive. They'll find you. Wesley, I'll be back. Picard says, Wesley, you remember, I'm always proud of you. Wesley goes off. Now he goes up and he solves the fountain issue and he gets the water and he gives it to Captain Picard. And then there's a couple of deleted scenes from the Enterprise about them tracking down the planet and stuff like that. But this is the one that they kept with. Beverly goes, Wesley, and Wesley goes, Mom, and Beverly goes, oh, Wesley, thank God. I'm so happy to see you. How did you find us? We found the wreckage and the arrow which indicated your direction. Wesley says, we'll take Wesley by stretcher as well. Wesley says, I can walk. Picard says, Doctor. Beverly says, we're on our way back to the Enterprise, Captain. We've stabilized your vital signs. Picard says, Mr. Crusher, what are you doing in such a filthy uniform? You don't look so ship-shape yourself, sir. Wesley said, you will be missed. He's still got 2 weeks, right? But that's it. This is his last episode. So break out the tissue, start the crying. The final mission. Star Trek Fridays with Christina. So, season 4, disc 3, first episode 183, final mission. Next week we're doing The Lost, the week after Dad Is Way, and the week after The Wounded. So please check Flashback Mondays, Star Trek Next Generation Fridays, and my daily book reviews. We're doing Laurel K. Hamilton, Anita Blake series. We're doing J.A. Jance, J.P. Beaumont series. And I'm going through some Steve Berry's right now. And I'm going to do a couple of special readings during the week. So please check that out. And please hit the like and subscribe to help me make 1,000 subscribers by Christmas. That will be a real huge, massive miracle because it's been 11 months now and I'm only a little over 100. And thank you to those who have subscribed. But like I said, I need 900 more by December. Maybe someone could help me out and spread the word. And enjoy Star Trek Friday. Thank you.